petrified. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Hi, and thanks for coming. Thanks for hopping online and checking out our weekly update tonight. I'm Ellie Spawn, and I'm with National Progressive Party. And this evening, um, Joel Jacques will be with us if he decides to grace us with his presence some point this evening. He is a pretty good guy for the most part when he's not dropping the hammer on posts. And I know great pride in keeping order in our social medias. So really lucky to have him doing that. The other thing that Joel does for us is he is our ethics and grievance board chair for the National Progressive Party. Again, keeping order and people on the straight and narrow. Really, really happy that by we, I guess it's the imperial me, we. So Joel and I are going to do something different this evening. The format's pretty informal. We're a little bit of a session. I'll ask him some questions does and what he brings to the table with NPP. And in the past, you're going to learn a little bit about him, probably a little more know. And from what I understand, he's going to be grilling me in return. So aren't you lucky? Hey, Joel.
Hey, Ellie, how you doing?
Spectacular. How are you?
It has been a wonderful day, so I'm going to chalk it right up there with peachy.
Ooh, that's spectacular.
Yes, it was that good.
So, Joel, why don't you tell our members a little bit about you, who you are, where you came from, and what you're up to?
Sure. So obviously, this is, in fact, Ellie, this is the first time you've even seen the handlebar mustache pop out. So, yes, folks, it is real. I got to ask that again today. But so my name is Joel. Last name, people see it and they're like, "How in the world do you pronounce that?" Easiest way I can explain it: think of the ocean explorer Cousteau. Jacques. It's Joel. Jacques. It's that simple. Try being 5 and figuring out what your name was. That was always fun. But as far as, I grew up in the Midwest. So I was born and raised Wisconsinite. Moved around a little bit in my college years, and now I'm actually located just north of good old Orlando in Florida. So I'm a bit of a carpetbagger transplant, I suppose you could say. But kind of been around a little bit. I have done everything from younger years of short order cook on into just some good old general labor. I've even hauled cattle for a few years. That was a heck of an experience for like me. Very much a learning experience. And then, of course, I've spent plenty of time in corporate America, boardrooms, and all that fun stuff. Currently, where my life is back residing as well.
Fantastic. It sounds like you've got some broad experience that you bring to NPP.
My background is definitely one of kind of going around and that's really what led me to where I am, not just with NPP, but kind of in my core value system, in life in general. And that's what brought me to NPP, was understanding what's important to me at my core, things that not just affect me, but the people around me. Having moved around a little bit and seen different parts of the country, talked to different cultures, traveling with work even, it was very eye-opening to begin to understand that what I saw, what my friends and my social circle saw, sometimes wasn't even as bad as we thought, or sometimes it was actually better than we thought. and getting those eye openings to the reality of the world around us from different perspectives. That was probably the most impactful part of what brought me to my progressivism and to getting involved with the NPP.
That's fantastic. So you would say growing up in the Midwest didn't hinder you from becoming a progressive. Y'all know that part of the world's pretty red.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, I think if anything, it probably encouraged me. Growing up, I had a very, very conservative background, youth, very religiously stern background, and but we were always encouraged to critically think for ourselves, to take things apart and really assess them for what they were, not just what somebody told us they should be. And that all kind of played out probably a little different than some people intended, but that's really again what brought me to where I'm at now, and understanding that I had to be able to not just think for myself, but once I saw, what can I do to get other people to see it too, to empower them through my actions and saying, look, you're not alone. Come with us. We can do this and create something larger than all of us.
So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, Joel. We're going to put on your admin hat for a minute.
Yes.
Joel is our lead admin for our Organizing the National Progressive Party group. And as such, many of you have probably interacted with him in one way, shape, form, or another, or have just seen him at work. And so, Joel, tell me a little bit about why do you do this? I mean, adminning a group like that can be a thankless job, and it doesn't always earn you a lot of brownie points or make you a lot of friends. So why bother?
Well, I'm gonna say this applies not to just the admin, but this also applies to what I do for NPP organization itself. I didn't get into this to quote unquote make friends. Um, I mean, obviously, friendships develop. They really do. They kind of blossom and sprout and so forth. But that wasn't the goal. That wasn't what I was aiming for. Um, so if anybody that is trying to put a dog in the race or trying to get ahead, network, and so forth, yeah, sometimes that creates a little bit of friction and conflict of interest where it gets a little tough to do those things. Well, that's not me. I'm the guy who says, look, here's what has to be done. Somebody's got to do this. Let's go. And in this case, it's me and a few others. We have a team that all head in the same direction and make sure that we stay on target as far as message, as far as the direction of the page itself, making sure that we are focusing on the building, not just of the organization, but of each other. The one thing I'm sure some have seen is I'm pretty quick to jump in and, okay, Mr. Troll, no. Or, hey, that wasn't a very nice way to put it. If you can rephrase it, that'd be really cool. Let's do that. We do have a very specific set of rules. I actually don't like to think of them as rules. That's what they're named, but I look at them like guideposts. Really, they're guidelines. There's a lot of leeway actually if you really look at it. My job is just to make sure that people color in the lines and stay on that guide to keep everybody headed the same direction.
I think that's really important. Anytime you get a large group of people that are interacting in the same place, you're going to have a lot of different personalities interacting and a lot of different opinions. And sometimes we do end up with a huge influx of new members from time to time, usually a couple hundred at a time. We try
Those
not
are
to
always fun nights.
have that happen. We try to add people a little more slowly than that, but every now and then it does happen. And then we've got a whole rash of maybe haven't time to read the guidelines for posting or the description of the group and what it's all about, and sometimes chaos can break out. So,
Oh, absolutely.
um, we're really lucky that we've got somebody who is good at interacting with all those different personalities and trying to get people and everybody get along, kind of thing. So, you know, we don't tell you enough. Thanks, Joel. We do appreciate everything that you do for us.
Thank you.
Um, we're gonna put your ethics board hat on for a minute. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about what's that mean? What's it all about? And why do we even need somebody like that?
Well, the I, I had somebody actually refer to it the other day as internal affairs, and I went,
Ooh,
well, ew, that's
ew,
man, that's harsh.
yeah.
I'm like, no, probably not that. So I actually had to stop to think about it myself. Like, wait a minute, what is the root
Mhm,
of the ethics board? Um, obviously by the name itself, the whole point is a body that concentrates not on the legality. We have a legal team for that. Not on the operation itself. We have an operations team for that.
mhm,
But looking at things that can possibly influence the ethics or the morality of what we and
mhm,
making sure that, again, same thing as with the admin, really staying on that true and narrow
mhm,
path, making sure that we are staying within not just legal rules, but ethical considerations as well. And that very often, people look at it kind of like the other, like was brought up the other day, internal affairs. Oh, you're the big bad guy. Well, actually, no. That's the final step. That's the worst case scenario that we don't. The whole point of an ethics board is people that focus and specialize in this area and can answer questions, provide resources, provide a diverse look at things and a different way to step back out of the situation and try to understand what's actually not just happening, but what the impact is possibly down the road and how it can affect things as we try to build and move forward. It's always easier to look ahead and plan correctly rather than have to go and backtrack and fix. We've had to do a little bit of that, where you have to go backward and fix things, and that's tough, and it slows things down immensely. So that's really the focus of the ethics board is providing a method that we can try to avoid those scenarios before they go to worst case scenario. And there's a number of steps to do that.
tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Um, so the one of the first things we do, and I think there might be a graphic out there somewhere if I remember right. But one of the first things we do is we look at the the actual compliance and the accountability situations,
Mhm,
things where we have to look at a person, at a situation, at a group, at an idea, and go, are we following the best possible practice? Are we doing this the best possible way? Are we putting forward a message that is responsible and respectful? I think all of us have seen many political situations that have faltered on that. And look at what happens. Not just is there a big, huge scandal and oh no, right? People start to lose faith, get apathetic. Well, I can't ever say it won't happen. But if we can control that, minimize it, handle it, and get it set in the proper direction before it gets out of hand and own it correctly, hold situations and people accountable and handle things in the right way, we can actually gain a lot of ground with the people that have felt that they've lost a voice or lost faith in the system.
mhm.
So actually, excuse me, I'm going to actually grab my paper here before I forget. Um, the one of the first things we usually recommend is if anybody in the organization um, has a question on what path we're going to take, or they have an idea, but they want to see how it might play out. And hey, is this a good idea, bad idea? Well,
Mhm.
first things first is take it to your department heads, your chairs. Always your best first step.
Mhm.
Second is your department chairs would then go, hey, maybe ethics board. What do you think about this?
Mhm.
What insight can you provide? What do you guys know about given the code of ethics, given progressive principles, values, and the the concepts that we want to uphold? How do these measure up? How does this idea sit in? And that's really the first thing we encourage. Um, Again, being proactive about it. So primarily reason why is we want not just the group, the party itself to champion progressive concepts and principles and values, but that's really our role. What the board does is we make sure that that champion focus stays first and foremost. Um, we also do serve in mediation factors. Some mediations, particularly ones that occur with outside groups, those might go through legal. We might get touched on or brought in here and there. Internal ones tend to go more through the ethics side, making sure that the communication paths are clear, making sure people are understood correctly and the messaging is set right. Sometimes we have to step in and get things more clarified across the board to make sure that everybody is on the same page. Um, there are times where those mediations do fail, or there are times when, hey, somebody was naughty. Well, that's when the final step, the one that we don't want to engage, and then we try to, do everything we can to avoid, but sometimes is needed, where we do an investigation, and sometimes it's a grievance where another person has an issue and brings it to us. Other times it's an issue where the ethics board themselves is bringing forward an issue that, hey, we spotted this. We think this is a problem. Here's our recommendation on how to handle it. During that process, the ethics board doesn't engage in investigative processes where we're gathering evidence. So we're getting screenshots, we're getting printouts, we're talking to people, getting recordings and reviewing them for hours upon hours.
Mhm.
Things where we want to get the truth, get to the root of the matter. Um, that I think is part of that accountability that we're responsible for, is making sure that the truth is known and heard and handled correctly. That was a lot in a
Well,
nutshell.
there's a lot to it, and I think one of the things that sets National Progressive Party apart from some of the other organizations out there is we actually have thought ahead, and we've put
Right.
these processes in place as an organization because we want to make sure that people are heard and people feel good about what they're doing and that they there are problems, there are clear paths to get those problems resolved. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've all been in those situations, whether it's a work situation, a volunteer situation, or heck, I mean, school. We even had mom and dad situations. We've been on both sides of that coin for us, where you're not listening to me. Oh no, that feeling. We all remember how small we felt, powerless and angry we got because of it. One of the keys to the concept of progressivism at its very, very base level is that we do listen to many voices and find the best way to create a single voice. And that's where a lot of issues have come up for a lot of groups and movements and parties, is they go this way or the highway, take it or leave it. With the whole platform concept or so forth, they're not being inclusive. They're not making sure that they're empowering those around them that actually want things to move forward and gain ground. Uh, that's very key to the progressive concept and to NPP. Um, I guess to me, that's one of the things that brought me on board in the first place. Was I saw the way even simple meetings were held, and I went, yeah, I definitely want in on that. And when I first came in, it was kind of a terse time and kind of crazy and wild. But even then, there was definitely a notion of, hey, we need your input. What's your experience, your background on this situation? How do you see it? And that plays in a lot to making a large multiverse of people work.
Definitely. Now, for those of you who are watching and listening, definitely if you've got any questions, feel free to chime in and
Yeah,
post those so we can put those to Joel and he can answer them. Definitely ask him about anything, okay? Because kind of an open book.
it's fair game here, folks. This is about as informal as you're gonna get. I know a lot of you have seen me on the pages, and I'm pretty cold, cut, dry, and full. Kind of have to be. But so this is probably a lot raw. You're probably looking at this video and wait, that's that guy, huh? Yeah, well, believe it or not, it really is. It's just when I have to put on the hat, I have to approach a very specific question.
Definitely.
That's probably one of the most interesting parts. That and the mustache. People just go, "Oh, seriously, is that stick on or heck is
It
that?"
was kind of a snidely do right
I
vibe a
I
little
know, right?
bit.
I like it. Hey,
Nice.
you're not the first person to say, "Hey, Snidely." You know, I actually have a very good friend happens to live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, from when I lived up there. He calls me Snidely all the
I'll be darned. Sounds like a
so.
good stand-up sort of fella.
Very, very much so. Very much so.
So, yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions yet. Joel, do you have any questions I haven't asked you that maybe I didn't have?
Um,
Give me
that
answers. How about that?
or how many? Okay, I always have questions. That's how I'm
Sure.
built. But answers is sometimes a little challenging. I have theories. Um, that's something I think
Short
you've learned
leash.
over time. Yeah, short leash, right? Right. Um, as far as I personally, I was very, very happy that this series was, and I do hope it continues, and I hope more people jump in. I know, this is the first one, so people are like, wait, what? Huh? What's going on? And I hope over time it does grow because, hey, I'm just the ethics guy. I'm the guy that sits in the back of the room, and that's it. But the people that are coming next, these are your steering committee folks. And as we add more, add organize, add all the positions in that are actually going to form the NPP national framework, power, embolden, and actually function the state affiliations and get things rolling. Those are the people are that are also going to be brought in. Meet them as well. We want you guys to be able to put a face to the name. We want you to be able to go, oh yeah, I remember that person. I remember that. Yep. Okay. And put that human side to it too. We're not just a name. We're not just people that make a post and walk away. Yes, we do have real lives. I literally ended my job sitting over here right before I jumped on here. I've been enough to have a job that has had me work March 10th, a very progressive thinking company, thankfully. Um, but we all have real lives, and this is something that we feel strongly dedicated. We feel committed. Um, really is the best word I can think of. We want to make sure that we are giving our best to serve all of you and create the environment that you guys can all move forward and grow into. So having you guys meet all of us, having you understand who we are as we get closer to national convention, I better meet a lot of you. I want a lot of you to be there. Maybe share a drink and a handshake and laugh a little bit, and you walk up to me and go, "Hammered my comment that one time, you jerk. And I'll be like, great, I'll buy you a beer. Come on, let's go. It'd be wonderful.
Would be wonderful. Better be careful what you promise. I think there are gonna be a whole lot of beers you're gonna be buying.
Yeah, they're all out there with tally marks right now, going, right.
Oh boy, yeah, that's some stuff right there. Um, I don't have any more questions for you, but one of the things I did want to touch on, because we do want to make sure, like Joel said, that we are getting the people in the right spots that we need. We are still looking for organized roles, all 50 states. We do have some state organizers. That's not state for sure, and we're not even point where we've got one person in every state yet. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely up on our national organizing group, and in posts you will see a place where you can sign up and definitely reach out to you, or drop me an email personally, send your resume, just np at nationalprogressiveparty.com. And those that send resumes will obviously, I don't have to reach out to somebody and ask them to send a resume. um, The other thing that is really important moving forward is fundraising, and there's been a lot of discussion on our discussion group over the last week about fundraising and why do you even need to raise money.
That one has kept me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I, I'm going to be blunt, because you can find a lot of people that have passion to do organizing, and they'll volunteer for a while until a paid position comes up, and then they're gone. And so we want to make sure that we can find the best people that we can find, organize these states and organize the regions. And to do that, you have to pay them a living. It's more than a full-time job. Just doing what I do is more than a full-time job, and I don't intend on collecting a dime for what I do for a very, 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 very long time, if ever. So we want to make sure that we get our staff members paid. Any political party has got paid staff. This isn't an unusual thing. It's nothing bizarre or ridiculous. There are expenses involved with broadcasts like this. Zoom's not free. The internet's not free. Our website isn't hosted for free. Um, we do have to raise funds to keep these things going, or really. So we do have a crowd pack website, and that's where all of our fundraising is happening currently. And so that way, when you get out your card and put your amount in on CrowdPack, it's going to go National Progressive Party without a shade of a doubt. That's where your funds will go. And we're working on a budget right now, to make sure we know exactly what we need to expect to spend for certain things. The biggest piece of the puzzle from the very beginning was just our basic infrastructure needs, like the website and the tools that our staff uses, and then getting those organizers for it. And over the next few weeks, the people on the new steering committee will be helping to formulate the rest of the budget for everything that we're. And so the small number that I put up to hire 50 state organizers of about $167,000 for 1 year, well, that number is going to grow, because hiring other people, hire people. So give even $3 a month. Certainly appreciate your money.
I think we were actually just, doing some rough guesstimates and factored that pretty much every state is going to need at least two, most states 3 or 4 by the region that the person would have to cover. It's definitely going to grow over time, as with anything. That look how fast we've grown up. I mean, I'm still astounded. I forget when this all actually began, because it has exploded. And sometimes
25th.
I have to remind myself that not everybody's aware of that. Yeah, exactly. March 25th. I'm not going to forget that. That was 4 days before my birthday. And I was like, ooh, birthday gift. Look at that. What's going on? So I will never forget that day. But there's a lot of people, I don't think they understand that, because there has been so many and that
Mhm.
have been out there for years and have been collecting dollars and doing their thing and doing their
Mhm.
shtick, and or putting up a link and, okay, everybody go over there and show up and whatever. Okay, I mean, that's good. We
Mhm.
like activism. We do. We
Mhm.
encourage it. But what we're doing here is something even larger. This isn't just a group. This isn't just a movement. This is an actual political party with FEC filings, IRS filings. Oh, by the way, all those filings. Ding. Yep,
Costs
got to
money.
pay for those too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, all of the legalities that come with that, all the scandals people hear about. Guess what? We have to follow the rules so we don't become part of that. These are very, very stringent concepts. We're dealing with federal government. We're dealing with things that, if it's not done wisely, smartly, in the right, thought out way, can lead to people with felonies. Important that
Right.
we do this the right way and take our time. You better believe it. Absolutely. And that's why I'm still amazed that since March 25th, we have gotten further than most movements that I know. I mean, we have gained that much ground already. It's pretty impressive. We still have a long way to go. I don't mean to pat us on the back and go, hey, we did it, we're done. No, we got a lot more to go still, a lot of work to do. We still need a lot of people on the ground, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and time put in, get us where we need to be, affect change on a national level, and get those locals and states rolling. But wow, we've
Wow.
moved amazingly quickly, and all on volunteer so far. There hasn't been a single dime, literally not one dime has been utilized by others yet. We're starting to get that now. We're starting to see the dimes flowing in,
Mhm.
and starting to build that pot so we can actually start to move forward with things like professional organizers and people that are dedicated to doing just that job and so forth. Um, but yeah, this has all been a labor of heart and love for many, many people.
I couldn't agree with that more. And when our group got launched, it was about 9:07 p.m. Central Time, March 5th. I couldn't, but don't ever tell me I can't do something.
Hold my Pabst. Um,
Uh, but I am very proud of the things that we have accomplished in a very short time, and it's taken a lot of people to get there.
right.
Um, I would. This may be a bold statement, but I feel like we have probably accomplished a lot more in the future been around than some other organizations have accomplished in 4 or 5 years. And so
Absolutely.
I I feel pretty confident. I know the things that some of the other groups that I've been involved with. That being said, that doesn't mean that some of these groups aren't groups that we aren't actively having discussions with. There are a lot of other groups out there that would make this. So that's a question that does come up pretty frequently. Are you just doing this, or are you getting involved with these other people? What are you doing? There are always active conversations happening as far as that makes sense, especially strategically. There's some groups that have got a PR game that is so far beyond on point that it just makes anything that we've done so far look like we're really not doing it. But when it comes to the actual inner
Well,
organization of
yeah.
building the party, I can't say that there is another progressive group out there that has
Bingo.
got the game that we're playing. I feel pretty confident about that. Been around the block a couple of times. Um, but I am really proud of the
We'll
infrastructure that
have
we've
to
built.
compare numbers at some point. We'll,
Um,
we'll we'll start doing the tally too.
so yeah, I that's really about all I've got aside from if
Oh,
Don't
you
feel
don't
like
get
you
away
want
that
to
easy.
get involved with the organizing, or if you're interested in a seat on our steering committee, I'm still. If you are somebody that has got some graphic design talent, we have got that. If you somebody that's good at wheeling and dealing and negotiating, our outreach committee got room that to reach out to some of these other organizations. If you are somebody that has got the gift of gab and is really good at sales, we have gift of fundraising. Raising um, one of the most important pieces of our puzzle. Like I said before, without this money in the bank, we can't. So definitely drop me a message. But personally, send us through any of our Facebook pages, national page, reach out to us on the group, send a telegraph, a smoke signal. I really don't care. Just reach out.
So Ellie, I told you don't get away this easily. We have a few questions for you that I have never heard answered. I love redirecting people to the
Okay.
announcement section and going and looking at the previous videos and going through learning about. I even go back and look at it myself once in a while because sometimes I'm like, was it in that video or this one? I back and look. So I have never heard what brought you where you are. Now I know a little bit of your growing up. You were a Southern girl.
Well, I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. My father lived down there, and my mother, in her infinite wisdom, decided we should move up to South Dakota, where she grew up, before I was old enough to start yawling, fixing it, and getting the urge to date cousins. So I grew up in Sioux Falls, and I went to high school at West Central in Hartford, South Dakota. It's a little farm town, about 10 minutes west of Sioux Falls. My parents' idea of a funny joke. They moved about 5 miles outside of the city limits, which is just far enough where I didn't get to go to high school with my friends in Sioux Falls. So not too much the worst of where I've made a lot of lifetime friends, adults. So from there, I went to college at Morningside, where instead of leaving with my BA, I left with my MRS, and working a little bit here and there on my college degree ever since, never quite deciding what I want to when I grow up. I am about this close.
I like that.
This close to a pre-law degree. I did go to school for culinary arts, and I've worked as a professional chef. I've owned several several businesses. I've owned 2 restaurants and a catering company, private chef work. 2 years ago, I was, gosh, not even year before last, I guess. Yeah. No, I guess it's been years now. I was hit head on by a drunk driver out in Rapid City, and I don't cook anymore. It's too hard for, I mean, at least not full time anymore. It's hard to spend. So I was raised by a pack of insurance salesmen. So I I did what my parents always wanted me to do, and I went back into the insurance business. We've got a successful brokerage here in Sioux Falls. Um, which is, so I guess I'm insurance salesperson by day and political activist by day and night and weekend and evening and morning. And I have got four four beautiful children. 3 of them are grown. I've got 4 grandchildren. Some of them are beautiful. Just think they're all beautiful. No, they're all great, ranging in age from, my oldest grandson is 11, my 2 youngest grandchildren are 6, and then the one in the middle is 8. So I'm a Mima, and 2 black cats, and there you have it. That's me in a nutshell. I'm not very interesting.
So here comes a tough question. This is the one that everybody goes, oh, I hope I don't get this one. It actually does probably require a little thought, unless you have something rehearsed, and that might be. She just for folks watching. This is the part that she didn't want. She's like, well, what do you ask me? Tell you. I'm not going to tell you because this is going to be informal chit chat. It needs to be a little off the cuff. We want to see, what
Yeah.
people's real is. So there were no questions formed here ahead of time, so this should be interesting. Um, what I mean, you started down in the South, Louisiana. I mean, deep, deep, good South, right? And then you went to the Heartland, and oh no, the Heartland is pretty solid, built red. Um, and here you are running this charge of the Light Brigade in the reddest of red from the reddest of the red background, and from where you came from, what created that? I mean, something had to have gone boom. Here's what changed my mind about things. Here's what made me realize what my core of a person is. You put it.
Huh. That's a really good question, Joel. And there are a lot of good people that everybody likes to call red state. And
There we go.
I'm
Yep.
going to tell you what, I am so sick of this red versus mentality. It's tribalism, and it's really got no place in politics. Our team's better than you. We're gonna win.
Yes.
Rah rah, let's go. And that really isn't what our government should be like. When I was growing up, my mother was sick a lot. She was epileptic back in the 70s before they had a lot of effective treatments for epilepsy. It's part of the reason we moved back here. And so my grandparents took care of my brother and me a lot. I was little, my formative years especially. Um, I was raised in the Methodist Church. A lot of people that are Democrats, if they look back to George McGovern from South Dakota, he was a Methodist. He was also very progressive. Um, Not evidenced by the Methodist Church today, and for the reason that they split, there's a lot more conservatism going on in the Methodist Church than be. But the one thing that I always thought growing up is stand up for other people. You for those who can't do for be that person that you can look at in the way. And my grandparents were two of the smartest people I ever knew in the entire world. And I remember 10 or 11, and I was going to go to the mall that afternoon with girlfriends. And my grandpa gave me a couple of bucks and it was like maybe $4. And he got there and he dropped me off. I forgot my money at home. I lied to him. Here, $4. And when we got home, he knew I'd do it because I did. I broke my grandpa's heart, and all you have in this world, and if you don't have that, people can't trust you. What good are you? And that stuck with me. So that to me was just the attitudes of my grandparents, um, a lot of the beliefs they instilled in my brother and me when we were growing up stuck. And so I don't think it's so much I had an opponent. I think to me, being a progressive is know the difference, and are you willing to do better? Willing to try
That's
to
a
do better.
really that's an interesting way because if you stop and even think about the word progressive, I mean, the whole idea is, point A, point B, you're progressing, right? Are we trying to be better than we were yesterday? Progressing.
And
Beautiful example.
we all have to
Good
do
analogy.
better. Um, yeah, that's about all I got. And um, wishing that 8 o'clock hour Central Time getting
Absolutely.
to maybe a good stopping point. I start waxing poetic. I get a little weepy. Nobody needs to see Ellie ugly cry tonight.
No, hey, I appreciate it. I know I kind of came in on hard on that one, and I gotta tell you, I I was pushing the button. I wanted to see it. You performed beautifully to the core that I know you are, and you answered the way I expected in the frame of hey, the red versus blue thing is silly. And I'm sure plenty of people on Facebook have seen me say that. Same thing. This is archaic. This is nonsense. It doesn't work. This is what they use and continue to use in order to keep control,
Yeah.
and we have to break away from that. So thank you for playing along with me in a challenging moment. I appreciate the fact that you did respond the way you did. Um, I expected no less. So thanks
It,
for
it
that.
was either that, Joel, or tell you to get bent and mind your own business. But
That
I
wouldn't
do.
be the first time.
I do want to thank you for being here tonight. Also, I want to send out a big shout out and a big thanks to Carrie Barber from Progressive Insider. They are National Progressive Party's official media arm, and they do a lot of really cool stuff for us. So I do want to say thank you for producing this show for us. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Good night.
Have a good one, folks.